A couple weeks ago, I took a look at the original Xbox and if it was still worth modding in 2021. And now today I want to take a similar look at the Wii, a system that is notoriously even easier to soft mod and opens it up to a wealth of different things you can do in a world where the Nintendo eShop is long since closed. You can still access many of the games via having a modded console. And of course, the Wii itself has a plethora of great games that I looked back on and thought, these weren't as bad as I thought they were. When the Wii came out, I was a teen that thought the Wii wasn't cool because it was for kids, and that's kind of how it was marketed, more towards families and whatnot. But games like Mario Kart and even Smash Bros. Brawl, although it may not be considered one of the best in the series, are just among a few of the games that aren't necessarily all motion control focused. And despite the fact that the system is overwhelmingly loaded with a library of shovelware, there's still plenty of great first-party titles to check out, though I will say many of them have been ported to newer hardware. Something like Xenoblade, probably not worth going back and playing on the Wii if you have a Switch and you can play it that way. But ultimately, some of the most exciting things about the Wii are like what you're seeing here. Project M, a mod for Super Smash Bros. Brawl, is a fantastic game with a total just load of content that you can't find anywhere else. I mean, obviously you can play it on an emulator, but why not just play it on a Wii if you have one that's modded? And there's a similar just great mod for Mario Kart on the Wii that adds, again, a plethora of content. And if you followed my channel for a while, you're likely aware of the fact that I love these fan-made mods that enhance old games and really just add more playability to them. And the Wii has two great ones that I had made a video on actually last year that I'll have linked down in the description if you want more details on either of those. Not to mention that modding a Wii to even be able to do this stuff is actually really easy. You only need an SD card and a USB flash drive, two things you probably have laying around your house already, and I'll have a tutorial link down in the description where you can get this set up regardless really of what firmware your Wii is on, because it's very easy to get it on the newest firmware, and just overall the firmware is kind of irrelevant, and it's a pretty straightforward process if you follow a video tutorial, even if the tutorial is a couple years old. One of the coolest selling points about the Wii back in the day for more classical gamers, when you could actually access the eShop, was the presence of the virtual console where you could play NES, SNES, heck even Nintendo 64 games that you could purchase and just outright own and play, which is something that cannot be said about the Nintendo 64 lacking Nintendo Switch, that doesn't even have a way to outright own the games. You have to say subscribe to their online service, which again doesn't even include the Nintendo 64 games, which were available to some degree on the Wii. And while there's only a few worthwhile WiiWare games that I think you should actually take the time to try out these days, there's still a ton of great classic games from the NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance, you name it, that are actually able to be emulated on the Wii, even if they were never officially released via the virtual console, because the Wii has a great homebrew community, and because of that, there are a wealth of different quality emulators that you can try out to play some of those classic 2D games. And while there is an emulator available for the Nintendo 64, the games don't run well, and I would not recommend playing any Nintendo 64 games on the Wii besides the ones that received official releases via the virtual console. And we've somehow managed to get nearly 4 minutes into this video without actually talking about what I consider the greatest aspect of the Wii and its ability to just flawlessly play GameCube games, really truly natively play GameCube games, as you can put a GameCube disc in a Wii and it will play it. You can plug in the GameCube controllers. Of course, you have to buy a model that has the GameCube controller ports on the side, but these are the most prevalent and common models to even be able to pick up. And using a piece of software like Nintendo, you can play these games even from a flash drive, which makes enjoying these classic GameCube games that have become so popular over the past couple years very easy to do, ironically, on a piece of hardware like the Wii that is oftentimes actually cheaper than buying a used GameCube and offers you a greater wealth of things to do with the system anyways. I like to compare the Wii and the original Xbox to one another when I'm debating which one is a better value for someone that wants to get into owning a modded console, and it really comes down to how interested you are in playing classic games. Yes, both systems can play them, but I tend to think that the original Xbox can do it a little bit better, particularly because it does have access to Nintendo 64 games, albeit in a limited sense, but still much better than the Wii can play them. However, the original Xbox obviously has its own games from that generation, as does the GameCube, but the Wii's ability to also tack on that Wii library, I think, takes the Wii to a little bit higher regard if you're not into playing real classic, 80s and 90s or even different handheld games. If you already own a Wii that's been collecting dust, I really highly encourage you to take the time to play around with it and see all of what the system can do. And if you're going to go out and buy a Wii today, make sure you actually get all of the different accessories the system needs. I'm talking about weird things like the Wii sensor bar that usually gets forgotten. Obviously, you need the Wii remote, maybe some sort of rechargeable batteries for those if you don't have them already. Maybe you want a classic controller for some of the more oddball Wii games that benefit from having a physical controller. And then obviously, if you want to play the GameCube games, you have to get a GameCube controller that'll plug into the side. And if you're going to play the GameCube games off of a disc, you'll need to buy a GameCube memory card. But if you're playing them with Nintendo, you're not using the physical disc, you don't have to worry about actually getting that GameCube memory card that seems like it fills up oh so quickly. I know the Wii isn't as cheap of a console as it used to be, and it's coming down in price a bit anyways, and if you look at, say a flea market or something, you may still be able to snag one at, a $40 or $50 deal with those accessories. But I think that if you're into Nintendo first-party games or stuff on the GameCube, even the Wii you always wanted to try out, this is definitely the way to go. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey, and I will see you in the next video.